Hansel and Gretel lived with their father and a strict stepmother in a small cabin deep in the woods. Their father was kind but poor, and their stepmother often scolded them for eating too much, because food was running low and the house was colder each day. One night, the stepmother said, "There's not enough food," so leaves the children in the woods. The father protested, but she yelled, "Do it or we all starve." Hansel and Gretel were still awake and heard everything. After everyone slept, Hansel snuck outside. Under the moonlight, he filled his pockets with shiny, white pebbles. He whispered to Gretel, "Don't worry, I'll leave a trail." The next morning, the stepmother gave them a tiny piece of bread each. She led them deep into the forest. With the father, Hansel dropped pebbles behind him, one by one. At night, their parents vanished. Gretel cried, but Hansel said,
"Look,
the pebbles shine in the moonlight." They followed the glowing path and safely reached home. When the children returned, their father hugged them tightly.
But
the stepmother clenched her fists and shouted, "You foolish men!" She began to plot again, but this time, she locked the door. So, Hansel couldn't gather pebbles. In the morning, Hansel crumbled his bread and dropped pieces. As they walked, Gretel watched nervously, hoping it would work. They were taken even farther into the woods. This part of the forest was dark and unfamiliar. The children were left again alone and cold. Hansel turned back and searched the ground.
But
the breadcrumbs had disappeared, or maybe eaten by birds. He looked at Gretel and said, "We are truly lost now." The forest grew dark and cold. Soon, Hansel and Gretel found a hollow tree to sleep in. They huddled close, listening to owls and wolves howling far away. For days, they wandered with no food. They drank from streams and ate berries when they could find them. Their clothes were torn and their shoes full of holes. One morning, a sweet smell floated through the air. Gretel sniffed and said, "It smells like cake." They followed the scent, their hearts pounding with hope. Before them, they stood a house made of gingerbread, icing, and candy canes. Lined the windows and the roof dripped with chocolate.
Hansel said,
"Is this real?" They tiptoed closer and broke of a piece of sugar glass. It crunched in Gretel's mouth, sweet and delicious. They giggled and began nibbling on the house. A kind-looking old woman stepped outside.
She said,
"Dear children, are you hungry?" Hansel nodded shyly, and she smiled. The woman invited them in and gave them warm soup and soft beds. Gretel whispered, "This feels too good to be true." Hansel yawned, already half asleep. The next morning, woman's voice changed. She snapped Hansel into the cage before they could run. She locked him up. "I'm a witch, and I will eat you when you are fat," she hissed. She ordered Gretel to clean and cook. "If you don't obey, your brother will suffer," she warned. Gretel pretended to obey, but watched the witch closely. She slipped Hansel crumbs and whispered, "I'll save you." Her eyes never stopped looking for a way out. The witch said, "Let me feel your finger to see if you are fat enough." Hansel held out a thin chicken bone. The blind witch grumbled, "Still too skinny." After weeks of waiting, the witch grew angry. "Fat or not, I'll eat him tomorrow," she yelled. She lit a fire in the oven and laughed cruelly. "Check if the oven is hot enough." The witch barked at Gretel. Gretel asked, "How do I get in?" The witch leaned closer to show her. Gretel saw her chance and shoved with all her strength. The witch fell inside with a scream. Gretel slammed the door shut and locked it. She rushed to free Hansel from cage. He hugged her tight, whispering, "You saved me." Tears of relief filled their eyes. They searched the witch house and found gold and jewels. "We can help father," said Gretel. Hansel added, "Let's go home." They followed a path, lit by sunlight and birdsong. It felt like the forest was cheering them on. Their steps were lighter with every smile. When they reached home, their father cried with joy. He had searched for them and regretted for everything. The cruel stepmother was gone and never returned. With the treasure, they rebuilt their home. They had enough food and laughter forever. Hansel and Gretel were no longer afraid and lived happily ever after. If you liked the video, please like, share,
and subscribe.